Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network. That is right, boys. We are back for Raptors basketball, our first episode of the season. I'm Zulfi Sheikh, here joined by Kyle Ramnarine and Cody Wiles. But before we get into it, fellas, let's catch up a little. It's been a while. How are we doing? Kyle, let me know how you've been. Give me a life update if you want.
Yo, it's been a bag of mixed emotions. Right now we have to watch the Raptors beginning of the season, but also at the same time the Jays are in the World Series, and it's like so overstimulating right now. We got one side I want them to win, the other side you see the Raptors lacking on defense, but it's been overall exciting. I'm excited to finally get back together with the boys, talk Raptors basketball, see the NBA season, and it's been a crazy start to the season overall in general.
Yeah, Toronto sports is bumping for better or for worse right now. We will get into that. But Cody, how have you been, my friend?
I was doing good, and then right before we started recording, Shohei Ohtani launched his second home run of the game in the bottom of the seventh to tie things up. So, hey, we'll be doing maybe some Jays updates as we go along here.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we'll probably be
I
reacting
get,
live.
I guess I'm excited to talk some Raptors basketball.
Mhm.
Yeah, spoiler alert: Shohei Ohtani, good at baseball. If you didn't know already.
Yeah.
But boys, Run It Back has returned, new and hopefully improved. Just to give people an update of how we are going to do things this season, it's going to be a little different. We will be uploading roughly once a month, and instead of going on a more day-to-day, game-to-game recap style, we will be kind of focusing more on larger trends and themes throughout the year, giving our overarching thoughts as things come and go, and also we will be putting more focus on Raptors 905 content. Obviously, myself, Kyle, and Cody do a great job helping cover the Raptors 905 for Raptors Republic. Cody, I know you've said it before. We do better 905 coverage than any other platform out there, and I absolutely back that. We go hard when it comes to 905 content. We love talking about it. So we will be focusing on more 905 content this season as well. The games are about to start for them in 2 weeks. Camp just opened this week for the 905, so there's a lot to cover when it comes to that team as well. But before we get into it, let us know down in the comments below what you're going to think about this format. Do you like the idea that we're going once a month? If you have any thoughts, let us know. But as always, like this video. Now there's hype on YouTube. I don't know what the hell that means, but hype this video up. I think that's important. And besides that, subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel so we can always share our content with you in the community and grow as we go. But boys, it is time to run it back. And we are going to start with some early impressions of the Raptors. At the time of us recording this, the Raptors are 1-3. We did just watch Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs pump the Raptors. They're 4-0, by the way. They look great. So it's
Yeah.
been a bit of an up and down, more down than up start for the Raptors this season after their second game of a back-to-back. But let's start on a positive note because we know there is going to be some talk about negatives, and let's see if we can provide some silver lining so far to this 1-3 start for the Raptors to this point. So Cody, start us off. What's been something positive you've noticed for these Raptors?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the wing trio. I think all three of them have really stood out in various ways. I'll focus on RJ most specifically because we're just coming off the Spurs game where it was either him or CMB as the best Raptor, and he's been great. Like the true shooting percentage is through the roof. His this new role of attacking off the second side stuff. Brandon Ingram is drawing so much attention. Scotty's drawing so much attention. RJ is finding his way, and it's pretty exciting to watch. Honestly, like he's defending. I think he kind of stepped up the defense towards the second half of the season. He's been aggressive on that end again for me, and he's been super efficient offensively. He's nailing his threes, and of course he's getting to the rim and converting. So RJ Barrett, and then the wing trio in general, like Scotty and Bi are doing their things as well. But yeah, that's the biggest positive for me so far.
Yeah, it's hard not to notice RJ Barrett for a couple of reasons. One, but to your point, the efficiency, 74% true shooting entering that game against the Spurs is just
Mm-hmm.
bonkers. He's shooting very good from three as well. Like you said, not forcing a lot of stuff. He's had to be that middleman on offense for more or less. And I wrote about it coming into the season, whereas like maybe his role would shrink in some regard. He's not leading the team in scoring. He's third right now, but his role hasn't really reduced to the point that you thought offensively. He is still really filling in those gaps, scoring at an effective rate. And you kind of alluded to it, Cody, but like he has been, I think, the most impactful driver for this team. We already know how good of a driver he can be, but the fact that he's generating paint touches with momentum and I think putting pressure on the rim is just
Who
something
else is
we're
doing
not.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, who
exactly.
else
Like
is doing
Scotty
it?
Barnes is gonna plop himself in the paint somewhere, get his touches that way, and relocate. Brandon Ingram is slithering to that mid-range game, but again, putting pressure on the rim and really forcing his way through defenders, attracting some help from like your rim protectors is something no one else other than RJ Barrett is doing. You kind of hoped Emmanuel quickly would kind of improve from some of that driving issues from last year and that rim efficiency. That clearly hasn't happened to this point. So it really has just been RJ Barrett generating paint touches and making the offense go at times in the half court. So I think from that regard, in terms of the trio, you just have to tip your cap to RJ. And I know Kyle, you kind of have talked to us about this offline about like RJ Barrett in terms of like what his contract status is. Maybe he could be moved, maybe he can't. Just what's going on with this looming idea of an extension or whatnot. But like when you see him play like this, it does raise those questions about like what do you do with RJ, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll probably touch on this a little bit later too as well. But with RJ, like he's been impressive overall, great, fantastic. Like I didn't expect this at all. I was thinking in my head, you have Ingram, you have Quickly, you have Scotty, you have all these different scorers on the team, and with RJ's sort of game, where does he fit into all of this? And it's like you said, they're taking the pressure off him and kind of focusing more on guys like Bi and Scotty, so he's had more room to do what he needs to do. And it's been overall impressive, but it just comes back to what do we do with RJ? Because we didn't give him the extension, but it's like also, are we going to do that, or are we going to kind of move him later on? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. In my head right now, I've been overall just happy with RJ, but it's like in the back of my mind, I don't know where we're going to go with this.
And final note, coming into the Spurs game, the three of them together, because I mean, just to play off what you're saying, like, what do they do? The three of them together, it's only 3 games. Obviously, stuff is still noisy, but I mean, true shooting percentage, assist percentage, and rebound percentage were all pretty good with all three of them on the floor. The net rating's pretty bad. It was a minus like 17 coming into this game. But yeah, it's there's some signs there. There's some signs there. I think there's bigger problems
Yeah.
that maybe we'll get into rather than RJ and the wing trio.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, let's hear. What's been your positive so far through these first couple games?
Scotty Barnes, but I know he didn't have the greatest game tonight. He had, I think it was about 9 points. He was in a little bit of foul trouble with 4 fouls. Yeah, he wasn't hooping like I thought, like he was to start the season, but overall, like this game aside, 24 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He's been stepping it up again on the defensive end, which we all know he can do. And the other day, I think it was the last game before this one, 33, I think it was like 33 points, 11 rebounds, and he was going off. So first of all, like I was thinking again, like going back to what I said about RJ, when we had someone like Brandon Ingram, I was thinking maybe he takes more of the scoring, the kind of the scoring load on him, and then Scotty can focus on his defense, the playmaking, a little bit less on scoring. I wouldn't expect to see nowhere near the 24, 25. I was thinking maybe 21, 22 for Scotty, like averaging so far. I know it's still very early in the season to see, but it's great. It's great for me. I wanted Scotty for this team to actually, make the playoffs and start moving forward going into the future. Somebody on this team kind of has to take that all-star or even like all NBA type of jump. And these numbers to begin the season are exactly kind of what we're looking for. This is our main franchise player right here. This is the number one player on the team. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. This is what I need to see from Scotty: more aggressiveness, doing it on both ends of the floor. And it's, I believe, what is this, his 7th year in the NBA? You can correct me
This
if I'm
fifth year.
wrong. Fifth,
Number
okay,
5.
yeah, fifth. But yeah, he's getting deep into, he's getting in the NBA in the NBA more, getting his experience on him. And I think at this point we should be expecting to see these type of numbers from Scotty overall. But again, early impressions, it's been great.
Yeah, year 5 in the NBA. I think pregame the broadcast talked about it. It's kind of a year for players to start making that jump if you really do
Yeah.
have superstar upside. They brought up the examples of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, guys in year 5 who hit this next step when it comes to their stardom. And it's also Scotty's first year under his rookie scale max extension. The money has come in. He's being paid like the face of a franchise. So there are expectations that come with that. And Cody, I'll toss it to you because I'm sure you've probably seen it a bit the same as we have. But like the disposition from Scotty has been, again, barring this game against the Spurs, has been pretty impressive. Turns out most of those concerns from preseason were just it's preseason basketball and he's playing around a little bit. But so far during the regular season, he hasn't been settling as much. He seems to be much more composed with his shot diet and selection in terms of his offensive process. So it's been kind of positive to see. So when you go back to looking at that wing trio and then Scotty Barnes specifically, how have you kind of read his early season and how he's been?
Yeah, it's been I mean, crazy that regular season basketball is different than preseason basketball. I don't know who came up with that. But he's been doing his thing, man, and it all starts defensively for me. Like It's like it's clearly he's not going to give 100% during preseason on that end, and
Yeah.
I still think even though I think we'll touch on the Raptors defense as a whole
Oh yeah.
coming up here, but I think as an individual, he's been pretty good. Obviously getting into passing lanes with the length. Today on Dylan Harper, he had some moments where he was just like straight up face guarding him and fighting through screens and doing all that. And obviously, you could see the impact on that end. He shot it from three pretty well to start the year.
Mhm.
He was, what is that, 7 of 13 now after this game. So that's a good sign, of course. I, yeah, he's been just as impactful as you would like. He's getting to the rim. He's not settling for all that, like you were just mentioning. So, Scotty Barnes is a good player. Who
Yeah,
knew?
he's a great player. Can he have an off game like he did against the Spurs? Yes, but so did the rest of the Raptors against the Spurs. He's shooting 39% of his attempts at the rim right now, which would be a career high mark for him. So again, he is kind of making an effort to diversify his shot selection, not settle as much from the mid range, which is positive to see from a guy that we have expectations. It's great that you had the year to experiment last year, but when it comes to winning, we need you to do the things that you're good at and things that help us win.
Yeah, and then 55.6% from three. So he's shooting the
Yeah.
career high at the rim, and then he's hitting the threes. Like that's like the complete opposite of what the preseason was.
Yeah. Like we'll see how much it continues, right? Because we do have to preface it by
Yeah,
saying it is 4 games of
Four
a sample
games.
size. Giannis right now is shooting 67% from three. I looked at that earlier today because what the hell? If he continues that, then holy crap.
It's
But
over.
it is early. Numbers are going to be a little crazy to look at, but we'll see how it goes. So far, Scotty has impressed. Guys, I was going to come into this to talk about my positive being Sandro Mamukelashvili because I think he has been a positive. He's been awesome. I think as far as backup bigs go, he's been one of the better ones in the NBA. He is scoring around 9 points a game, 74% true shooting. He's shooting about 50% above the break. He's top 10 amongst backup centers in scoring, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, plus minus, all of that. And then I saw Colin Murray Boyles have the awesomest game of his life. It's the second game of the NBA. I'm exaggerating. Colin Murray Boyles, after going 0-4 in his debut, looking rusty after he returned from a forearm strain, against the Spurs, he just looked awesome, man. Colin Murray Bowles was doing everything on both ends of the floor. I think defensively, he did about as good a job as anyone can do against Wemby. He was making him
yeah,
uncomfortable at times to the point where Wemby, you could kind of see he took the matchup a little personally at one point where he really wanted to drive through CMB to prove that he could more or less. So I think for a guy in his first real minutes in the NBA, he kind of got thrown in there against the Mavs. I think this was the first game where he felt a little more settled. There weren't nerves obviously for him. For him to play as much as he did, I think he played 24 minutes, put up 19 points, and he shot the three way more comfortably than I expected. I think more than many people expected. He showed it a bit in preseason where he was comfortable letting it fly, but then to see it also fall with him making, I think he made, what was it, three threes in this game? He went 3 of 5. So that is
yeah.
just awesome development from him in his first like real run in the NBA. I think if you go for how he looked from his debut to this game, and you just kind of look at the upside that he has going forward in terms of what he can do for the Raptors, I think it's pretty exciting. We talked about how Jakob Poeltl struggled again in this game and how he struggled against some of these not just bigger but mobile bigs. If you have a guy like CMB who can come in there and play as positively as he did against a guy like that, I think it really speaks well for his upside.
Yeah, and now Jakob Poeltl leaving the game against the Spurs with lower back tightness. You could tell he's dealing with something, and of course he's been playing through it all season to start. I want to go to what South Carolina head coach Lamont Paris said about Colin Murray Boyles during summer league. Everyone makes a big deal about the shooting. He is such a hard worker that it would shock me if that's not something that he would be able to do eventually. I mean, it's already coming to fruition in
Yeah.
literally his second game. Uh, he looked great, man. He was arguably their best player outside of Barrett, making plays on both ends of the floor. And with Pirtle out now, like I don't know the way he played. Like I'm sure, let's say Pirtle can't play the next game. I'm sure Mamu will get the start, and he's been just as good. Unfortunately, didn't have the best game against his former team, even though they played the tribute video for him and all of that. But I don't know. Murray Boyles looked pretty good, and he's might be the best option to replace Pirtle in the starting lineup in the short term right now.
Yeah, like if you're asking for him to have made a case for himself, he did a damn good job. He closed
Yeah,
this
you did.
game, at least before the starters were pulled. He was out there with them finishing the game for the last couple of minutes instead of Mamu when Jakob went out. And again, he was
Mm,
positive, making plays from he had a block on Stefan Castle. And right before that, he had scored a three. Again, an above the break triple. He's not just sitting in the corners trying to get his 3 pointers that way. These are meaningful threes that if you can start hitting them at a decent clip, you can attract gravity. We know he can dribble the ball a little bit. So for him to attack closeouts and do some of that stuff that we've seen a guy like Mamu do, it adds versatility for what he can do in the NBA. And it really lets him kind of explore his upside offensively. And I think that's really exciting. So I think we've seen a couple positives there, but obviously the Raptors are 1-3 to start, fellas. So it hasn't been all that great aside from the positives that we have mentioned. So let's get a little critical about these guys and let's get a bit real on what's going on here. So, Kyle, I'll start with you. What have you seen so far that has concerned you from these Raptors?
There's a lot to be concerned about, but I know again it's still early in the season. I don't want to nitpick too much, but Jakob, just even seeing today him kind of leave the game, so I don't want to come down on him too hard. But the back soreness, you could just see he's not quite the same he was for last season. It's just a little bit he's looking uncomfortable, and they're both and defensively. I don't know. Again, we don't know how much his back soreness is playing into this, but yeah, I think you even tweeted about it the other day, Zolfi, about his like push shot. It's just not looking as
no.
comfortable. The jump hook, even him guarding, rebounding, it's like the effort is just quite not. And I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose. It's just again, it could be the injury. The effort is just quite not there. He's not stepping up to defenders as he usually would, or fighting for the board sometimes. And again, it could be because of this back injury, but that's why I am a little concerned as well with him. I don't know why. Again, if this was the case and he was dealing with pain, he could have either just told, like he said, yeah, I'm good to play. I feel good to play, but I don't think, again, this early in the season, we shouldn't be risking it, especially seeing what we've seen in the last 3 games before this game, especially with the foul trouble. We got it. He needs rest. Clearly, he needs rest. He needs a little bit of break. And yeah, I don't think we should have been playing him even today, especially after last games. He just it's not looking right now. And it's not, I don't think that's on him per se. It's just injuries.
Yeah, look, I think a phrase that's been used with Jakob a lot in the last couple seasons is that similar to Scotty, he's been a guy that can help put out fires.
Hmm.
Right now, with how like tired, like how cumbersome it looks for him to move, he's gasoline for the Flames at this point. He's not moving very well. Again, offensively, he's not really looking to do much outside of move the ball. This guy's getting the ball in the high post area. We already know he's not going to shoot from there, but then now it's just
Mhm.
like he's immediately just trying to move the ball anyways instead of trying to create within the short roll. Defensively, he's a guy who's known for just putting a body on you, being physical and not making things easy, but guys are driving past him and getting to the rim with very little deterrence or resistance at this point. And to your point, Kyle, yeah, injuries, but also like it's not like it's been easy matchups either, right? Like
Yeah.
you
I
have
was just
Giannis,
gonna
you
say
have
that.
yeah, you have
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, you have Victor Wembanyama. Like you're
Yeah.
asking him to do a lot, even against the Hawks. It's Kristaps
Even
Porzingis.
Porzingis, yeah,
Yeah,
asking him to be pulled out to guard the 3-point line.
yeah.
Turner against the Bucks, yeah, Giannis, yeah.
Yeah, so like you are asking him to do a lot, especially if he's limited in terms of his mobility. So, like you said, it's hard to really go too far into it. But at the end of the day, when expectation comes, you also need results.
Yeah.
And a guy like Jakob Pertl isn't providing results at this point. If it's injury related, then you have to consider sitting him and then letting him get healthy so he can be the Jakob Pertl that we have come to
Mhm.
see. But kind of the other end of that tandem when it comes to results not coming so far, Cody, is Emmanuel quickly. And I know you want to talk about him because it's been kind of a chain reaction between what he's doing and what Jakob's doing and how that's kind of limited them.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite of what my positive was. Is the wing trio were the positives, and then the other two rounding with the starting lineup, the big and point guard combo, IQ and Jakob Pertl haven't been up to standard, and I think that's pretty clear to see amongst everybody in the fan base. The Raptors, Darko, it wants to play this high, a pickup point, aggressive defense. And I don't know if they got the facilities for all that, man, especially Emmanuel quickly. Like the point of attack defense has been really bad to start the year. Like, think Cole Anthony in that Bucks game was just doing whatever he wanted, especially to Emmanuel quickly. And when he's not shooting it, he's 4 for 22 from three. That's 11%. 20 49 from the field. That's 38%. These are numbers after the San Antonio game. And when he's not defending, already at his smaller stature, that's a big problem. And I mean, you can see it. Even like Jamal Shed is maybe providing a little bit more right now than Manu quickly, especially the way he's shooting it. Now,
You
I
don't
may
have
be
to say
compl-
maybe. He is. Like
He
if like
is.
truthfully he is. There's no maybe there. He is generating more offense for guys around him.
shooting it better. You would like to think that the variance will come back. Obviously, again, to preface, like the numbers are all noisy right now, but it's been a bad start. It's been a bad start. I will. He's still not turning the ball over, which is good. 20 to 6 assist turnover ratio is fantastic. Another zero turnover game against the Spurs, 7 assists. Um, the Raptors' system and just point 0.5 offense generates some of those. He's still making good decisions and he's taking care of the ball, which is a positive. But yeah, that's probably the only positive with his game right now.
Yeah, I agree with you that like in terms of process, offensively, again, not defensively. Defensively, there's been a lot of problems, but offensively, in terms of process, like he's still doing a lot of the right things. Like there's been like a lot of movement threes that like yes, you think these are tough shots, but you need a guy on your team to be able to hit those, get into those pockets in the corners and be able to hit those tough shots at times in terms of what your offense is able to generate, especially when you have an offense that doesn't really do a whole lot in the half court. You need guys who are able to hit that. So like when he shoots a lot of these tough threes, I'm not necessarily hating them, but like when you're a guy who's been billed as a 3-point shooter to the point where people have talked constantly about like, well, we want to see you take 7 or more threes a game. At a certain point, they do need to start falling. And this may very well just be an early season slump. But then if you don't end up getting that 3-point production like Emmanuel quickly can give you, and then you also have it compound with the fact that defensively he has all these issues, then you're getting into a real problem of this not being sustainable for them.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the money that he got, like there's different expectations that come with it, right? And since he's gotten it, I don't think he's lived up to them. And
Yeah.
I think even he would say that. I think after, what was it, the Milwaukee game, he put the loss on himself, even though it probably wasn't totally on him. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, still early.
Yeah, and I kind of I'll piggyback off that a bit, Cody, in terms of like what's concerned me the most. You talked about it, Kyle. You've also mentioned it, but for me, if I had to like put it into a sentence, the Raptors' defense hasn't been aggressive. It's been reckless. Like that's been my biggest problem with them defensively. Like I get the idea of ball pressure and higher pickup points, but in terms of how you then adjust when those things break down, or when you have things like blow-bys and people getting behind you because of that ball pressure, you have to be so interconnected and so cohesive to play that way that if you're not, it is glaring how many weaknesses and how many breakdowns you allow. Like that style of defense can, in principle, do what you want it to in terms of creating turnovers and stuff, but it also demands so much of your players that they have to be on the ball constantly. Like you can't be late on rotations. You can't forget to help the helper. You can't be like slipping up and trailing behind and then committing these silly fouls that the Raptors have. And when you do,
So
it
many
leaves
fouls.
I have numbers to back this, by the way, and I'll get into that in a second. But like it has been really ugly for them so far. Entering against San Antonio, so their first 3 games, they're giving up the 3rd most points in the NBA. Teams are shooting over 70% against them at the rim. It's just easy stuff because you are getting blown by. Guys are rotating late, so there's no rim help. We've already talked about Jakob not being the rim presence that he
Yeah.
can normally be. So it's just been easy looks at the rim constantly, and it just hasn't been conducive basketball. And that's problematic for this Raptors, compounded by, like you just mentioned, Cody, the silly fouling. They are 4th in terms of like committing fouls per game. And I know sometimes you kind of want to throw that away to the idea of like, well, it's a ball pressure heavy defense, that fouls are going to be a consequence of that. To a certain degree, you're correct. I looked at the numbers for this as well. Last season, if you look at some of the best defenses in the NBA, so that's the Thunder, the Warriors, the Magic, they're all top 10 within in terms of committing fouls. The Raptors led the league in fouls last year, by the way, and they were a pretty decent defense. But like for the most part, none of them are top 5 in any of these categories. They're not among the league's highest foul like committing teams. And it also comes down to the type of fouls you're committing. The Raptors force 18 turnovers a game, top 5. That's great. But they're the only team in the top 5 in forcing turnovers that's also top 5 in committing fouls. And they're also the only team that's top 5 in free throw attempt rate for their opponents. They're fouling guys not because their hands are being active and they're digging in spots and sometimes you whack a guy. They're fouling guys because they're late getting to their spots. They're letting guys blow by them. And when they're trailing, they're just swiping their hands, hoping for like a home run steal to come out of it or a turnover. And it's stuff because they're being sloppy. So when you take aggressiveness and add sloppiness, you look reckless. You don't look like you have a plan here. And so far, they haven't. And if it continues, like you said, Cody, you have to start asking some pretty tough questions. I don't think it's a lack of effort because these guys are running out there and trying, but there's no control to the chaos here. So at that point, is it a coaching thing? Are they just not prepared to understand what their help principles are? Or like to your point, is the talent just not there defensively? Do they not have the acumen to be good defenders in terms of this style of play? And if so, do they have to change how they play defense?
Well, it's making me think back to last year. Like, what they were a top five defense a lot the second half of the year for the most
They were
part.
second, I
Like,
think, after
Yeah.
the All Star break.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to be safe, so I toned it down. But it's like, how much of that was real? A lot of it wasn't coming from the starters because they weren't playing. It was
Yeah.
Jamal Shed, Mobo, and everyone else off the bench last year, and it was against teams that, as we all know, were also tanking. And so I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely something to keep an eye on because this is brutal, brutal.
Yeah, you can't like the big thing is it's like the Raptors didn't come into this season saying they're like, oh, we're trying to be okay defensively or we're trying to be
Mhm.
good defensively. Made it very clear being an elite defensive team was going to be their identity, their ethos. Like they talked about how defense is so important that it is going to help us generate offense, which quite frankly they've needed because their transition offense has been elite. They're a good team at running out, so that's why they want to create turnovers, create easy baskets, especially when their half court offense struggles. So when your defense is not just letting you down to like a regular amount, but to this extent when it's supposed to be who you are, that's a really big red flag early in the season.
Yeah, it could also just be like I know we're still like again the preference early in the season, so it could just be them, gelling together, getting the chemistry up, kind of figuring out communication on defense. Because even today, just some of the rotations just look bad, man. It just looked bad. I saw one where they just left Harrison Barnes just wide open in the corner, and they're looking at each other like who was supposed to be on him. And then even with the switches, with the pick and rolls for quickly, it's like they're not communicating on the switches properly. They're getting easy looks at the rim, and I don't know, like again, they're just gonna have to go back to the film room and kind of be like, this is what we need to fix. And I don't know if Darko's planning on trying different lineups, like who's gonna get out there, but yeah, something's got to change because right now it's looking nasty, man. It's looking real nasty.
This
Yeah.
is dampening my mood.
Yeah,
Should we
Yeah,
move
it's,
on, please?
yeah. I Cody, give us our baseball update. What are the Jays looking like? It's still tie game.
still tied. Yeah,
Chri- Till's tied. Chris Bassett just struck
struck
out the
out. Yeah,
final batter in the eighth. We're going to the ninth, 5-5 in Game 3 of the World Series. Yeah,
pray
All
let's
for
right, I'll
let's
take
keep
it.
it pushing.
You
pray
know what?
for
The
us.
game's still alive. The Jays are still in it, and it's making me feel bold, boys. I'm feeling bold here. I didn't have a better segue than that, but look, we're trying to be positive as much as we can in terms of this Raptors' tough
Mhm.
start to the season. So we figured it'd be fun if we gave some bold predictions. Obviously, we didn't put out much preview content leading into the year. Some of the other guys at Raptors Republic did, but that'd be fun to ask you guys some of our bold takes or predictions, what we think is going to happen this season. And Kyle, let's start with you. What's a bold take that you have that you think is going to happen for the
I
Raptors
was,
this
I
year?
was, I was just about to say like if we wanted to go with y'all's because Cody literally just said it. This was dampening his mood, and you guys gonna get me to give my take. And then, okay,
Go.
so
Is it bad? Is it that bad?
I don't think it's bad. It just I think by All Star RJ Barrett will be traded. That's my really bold kind of like just out there take. Is that meme where it's like I have a feeling it will happen, but I can't prove it will happen. I know, and again, I'm not trying to knock RJ Barrett's play. He's been playing fantastic, and it's why he's been playing like this is why I think he could get traded because again, he is kind of again raising his stock right now. And right now, I feel like with the talent pool we do have, yes, they are putting the focus on, like Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes and letting him kind of do his thing. But I feel like the way the team is built right now, we don't know where it's going to go with RJ. We don't know again. Are we going to give him this contract extension? Are they all going to play well together, or can we get something better for him? Like, now I'm not talking about we can get another All Star for him, but can we get better pieces to build around Brandon Ingram, build on Scotty? Can we get a better, maybe more playmaking in there, more positions at center? It's right now with RJ, it's kind of hard for me to say he will be on this team past All-Star break just because I see what he can provide for us trade wise. And if he's playing great like this, again, it just raises his value. And I just don't know where he fits on the team in the long term. Like if we're trying to make these runs into the playoffs and gel together. Again, we have a guy like Brandon Ingram he's more versatile offensive wise, but with RJ, yeah, it's just up in the air for me, and I feel like we might hit the phones and see what we can get for him.
Yeah, I don't think it's unrealistic to say by any means, right? Because like his value's got to be at an all time high, or at least as high as it's been in some time. He is under contract for next season. So if you did trade him, you have a year to work with him to get an extension going if you wanted. There's a lot of teams that could use him. He's still pretty young. I want to say he's like, what, 24, 25. He's entering his prime. And we see what he can do offensively and where the upside is. Defensively, he's grinding and working to get better. So I think there's a lot of value there. And if you are the Raptors and you're looking at pulling levers to help this team get better and fix the roster construction, there is not a ton of options for you to consider other than like a guy like RJ Barrett, again, where the contract does make sense in terms of as a value to trade to get good value back. So I think there is a reasonable possibility that it happens. I would love to see if the Raptors could try to figure a way out to keep RJ Barrett within the mix because you see what he provides in terms of value for the half court offense and what he can do as a player on that end. And he said it before the season started too. Like he probably cares about this team more than a lot of guys. And that's not a knock on some of the other guys here, but he's a hometown guy. He clearly very much loves playing for the Raptors. So I'd love to see them make it work. But Cody, like Kyle does have a point, right? Like it makes sense if you're looking for a way to improve this team that RJ Barrett's value is there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to come around on him being on the team a bit more longer term. I just don't know how they would afford it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I like him. My bold prediction. Tell me if this isn't bold enough because I have a backup. Brandon Ingram will be an all-star. That bold enough?
I mean, with how they've looked so far, yeah, it's pretty damn bold. If the Raptors continue at the pace they're at now, for them to get an all-star will be pretty remarkable and Brandon Ingram to be fantastic. But
Okay, I guess the case for it is I think the raw numbers he's gonna put up
Yeah.
and the skill that he has. And I think he's just gonna get a nod in a weaker Eastern Conference where some of the top stars are injured, and then some other ones haven't even looked the best. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I think Ingram can do it. My backup was CMB will be the best bench player for Toronto, but I don't even know if that's I don't even
doesn't
know if
look
that's
that
any
bold
more
right now.
bold, to be honest. Yeah. So anyways, that's what I'm going with.
Why Ingram and not Scotty? I know there's probably a debate between the two, and I'm sure you thought about it, but like, why'd you ultimately go with Ingram instead of Scotty?
I just think his point totals and the half court creation is just something that could look better in like voters' eyes and like fans' eyes and stuff like that. I mean, maybe Scotty just makes the leap and continues to shoot it well and continues to defend and just overall looks like the overall better player. But I haven't even totally hated BI defensively. There's been some mishaps, but I think his length has made an impact on that end. And I mean, he's a good player, right? Scotty could easily make it over him. My actual one I wrote down was one of Scotty or BI will be an all star, but that didn't seem bold at all. So I just picked one to, but yeah,
Yeah, when
either
I
one
saw
of
that
them
on the
could be an
notes,
all.
I was very ready to call you out for that not being a bold take. So I'm
I
glad you
changed it.
adjusted it. I'm
It.
glad you changed it. Yeah, which is fair. Again, like you're right. So far, Brandon Ingram has been as advertised, right? Like he is a 3-level scorer. He's a professional bucket getter, and he's been that for the Raptors. Some of the other stuff hasn't popped out a ton. I think he has very high playmaking upside. You haven't necessarily seen that for the Raptors so far, but again, they need so much out of him offensively in terms of a creator with the ball in his hands that you've relied on that more than anything. But since you went with BI over Scotty, I'll give a Scotty bold take here, I guess. I think Scotty Barnes will post a 5x5 this season. That's 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, and 5 blocks. And I can back this up as being bold because it has only happened 12 times in NBA history. And look, you talked about it a bit before, Cody, but like Scotty Barnes is just going to be so relied upon for this team, both offensively and defensively. The points, rebounds, and assists, he's going to get in his sleep. He's averaging 24, 7, and 6 already, so he's already got that part of the 5x5. It's the steals and the blocks, but we know Scotty Barnes is the type of athlete that can kind of create those in a hurry, especially with the way he's asked to defend as a roamer, as a help defender. This guy is kind of moving around. It didn't work all that great against the Spurs. Some of his help and kind of running around was a little purposeless, and he was all over the place. But when he is doing it with good intention and he's able to create havoc with purpose, he can rack up those steals and blocks very quickly. His career high for steals and blocks are both 6. So, he's reached that number, that 5 threshold before for both of those. So I just thought it was fun. I think Scotty Barnes is a type of player to kind of stuff the stat sheet. And if he can go do it against like a Nets or a Wizards or a bad team that doesn't have the greatest ball handlers, I think he can really have a fun stat line with that. So Scotty Barnes will be able to post a 5x5 this season. That's my bold take.
Honestly, it's not ridiculous to say that. I can definitely see because the way Scotty's been playing defense so far, like is he's been incredible. So if he were to do this, honestly, I could see it happening. I could really see that happening.
Man, again, only 12 in the NBA. The last person to
Yeah,
do it, and surprise, surprise, it was Victor Wembanyama
Wemby.
last year. But there's been some fun, like not fun, but like weird names on that list. Like Yusuf Nurkic just put up a 5 by 5. I don't think anyone was guessing that. Draymond Green, like you have guys like Hakeem who have done it 3 times. You have Wemby, obviously, and then you have Yusuf Nurkic. But like, hey, Scotty can join that elite company or elite group with those guys there if he's able to pull it off. But
All
yeah,
right,
some bold takes there.
No.
cool.
All
Learn
right,
something new.
boys. Now we are into our final segment here where we're going to talk about the Raptors 905. Obviously, we said we're going to be focused more on the 905 this season. And Raptors 905 basketball is only a couple days away, or a couple weeks if you want to be specific. The season begins with a tip-off tournament on November 7th against the College Park Skyhawks, and we'll be bringing you as much in-depth analysis and insight as we can. But before action begins, let's break down some stuff, and obviously starting with the training camp roster. That it was announced on Monday that the Raptors have their training camp roster, and 16 names on there. You'll see them there. Obviously, the ones that we're going to point out really quickly, they got their 3 two-ways in Chucky Hepburn, Elijah Martin, and AJ Lawson, and they also have a couple guys joining them recently via the G League draft. The Raptors drafted a pair of guards out of the G League. And Cody, I know you wrote about this for Raptors Republic. So for people who don't know, obviously these two guys are the newest guys. Not many people know much about them. So give us the quick rundown here on the Raptors 905 draft picks.
Sure. Start with 10th overall pick, AJ Hogard, 25 years old, spent summer league with the New Orleans Pelicans, following 5 years in college, 4 years at Michigan State, 1 year at Vanderbilt to finish out his collegiate career. 6'4", 220. Big guard. Big
Big
guard. We
boy.
like that. 8.5 points, 4.5 assists, nearly 3 rebounds and a steal throughout 4 years at Michigan. Not the best shooter, 30% from distance at Michigan. At Vanderbilt, he was 27.1% during his final year. His resume at Michigan State is pretty good. He's a 2-time honorable All Big Ten mention. He was one of just 5 Spartans to finish with at least 600 career total assists, and one of 3 Spartans ever to record 1,000 points, 500 assists, and 300 rebounds in the past 30 years. So, pretty accomplished at Michigan State. Big guard who can get downhill, who then likes to pass it out of that to create open looks for teammates, and thrives in transition using that size. Yeah, really downhill. You can kind of think Kennedy Chandler ish from last year. I think Chandler shoots better and is a lot smaller and can maybe do a lot more of the point guardy things. And Hogard's a bit bigger, obviously different games, but you can sort of think of the downhill pressure in that aspect that Hogard's going to provide. Their later first round pick, 22nd overall, JP Peggies. I think that's how you say it. I hope I'm just call him JP.
We'll find out
spent
soon
three
enough. We get to ask him
spent
later.
yeah, spent 3 years at Furman before becoming one of the top transfers in the country, choosing to play his senior season at Auburn last year. 6'1", 180, smaller guard who can shoot it. 95 career games with Furman. 18 and a half points, 4.5 rebounds, nearly 5 assists. Over 36% from the 3-point line. Was an all Southern Conference first team during his junior season, at the end of his junior season. The SoCon's all tournament team selection in 2023. Didn't do much at Auburn. I have to look into what happened with that. Only played in 15 games, barely played. I'm not sure if it was an injury or there was something else going on, but I have to look into that. Didn't play much during last year, but he was a top transfer out of the country coming out of Furman, coming into last season. Hit a pretty big shot in March Madness to basically ice the game against Virginia while he was with Furman, the 13 seed upsetting the 4 seed a couple years back. So, yeah, he can do some things. So we'll see. They have to make the team, but I like Hogard especially.
Yeah, I think looking at their draft picks and then also the roster they put together heading into camp, I think one of my biggest early impressions has been just this clear emphasis on building this like steady stable of guards. They have 9 guards on this training camp roster, and I think Cody, Kyle, we saw last season watching this team that guard depth was clearly a weakness, and guard play is incredibly important at the G League level because there's just so much volatility within your roster. But having guys that can initiate offense consistently and help your team kind of read and react to what's going on is so important. And then when you have guys like AJ Lawson and Jared Roden going up to the NBA level and playing there because of what the Raptor situation was last year, Evan Gilliard, Kenny Chandler, great players, but you're asking a lot of them to consistently work with new guys constantly while they're figuring out their own roles within a team. So it seems like with their draft picks and then also trading for a couple of vets in a guy like Jarkel Joyner, in a Patrick McCaw, three-time champion, by the way, once with the Raptors, adding those guys to the roster, it's just there's so much of an emphasis, it seems like, of adding depth to the guard position and keeping the rotation steady that I think that'll be interesting to see how that helps them, but also you can see on the roster, there's not a ton of size. It seems like a very Raptors-esque team in 2025. They have two true centers, two guys who are 6'10 or above. So we'll see how that goes for them. But overall, I think just the emphasis on guard play is very clear watching the way they've built this camp roster.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent overall on this team. Like even someone like Jared Roden, who's in camp back because the Raptors had his returning rights. He was even playing little point guard last year, bringing up the ball and having the ball in his hands quite a bit last year. Obviously, Lawson's going to do some things. Chucky Hepburn and Elijah Martin, I'm excited to see as well. Obviously, Chucky. I wonder if I would assume Chucky and Elijah would start together, but I
That'd be
wonder
my
if there's
guess.
going to be some staggered stuff where Elijah Martin's going to get some on ball stuff because he's really not a point guard, but maybe they want to see that out of him. But yeah, it's honestly a really talented team. Excited to see Olivier Sarr too. He's kind of their main center here. With no Earl Shamshay, for anyone who doesn't know, return to fitness. You can think kind of Christian Koloko with what's going on. He has to be approved to play. Not really any information on what's going on there. Hopefully all is okay, but he will not be with the team. So Sarr is going to be taking a large brunt of that center load, and we'll see what he does. Missed all last year with a torn Achilles, so excited to see him come back because he has some NBA experience with the Thunder as well. Yeah, you mentioned Patrick McCaw, three-time champ. Who else should we talk about? Who else do you guys want me to talk
Julian
about?
Reese, younger brother of Angel Reese. He was a bit of
Yes,
a
that is
baller at
true.
Maryland. He averaged 11 and 7. He's a big boy, man. He's like 6'7", 260 or something like that.
Six,
He's a
I got him at
he's a
6'9", 250. Yeah, so
6'9", 250.
somewhere
Yeah,
around
I
there.
can't
Yeah,
remember. I think you're right. I honestly probably just misremembered, but
you just had
I
6'7"
remember.
on the brain.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Don't do that. Okay. Why the hands a part of it now? First it was just 6'7", and then the hands came
I
into
think
it. I
it's like
still
a
don't get
dance.
it.
It's like a dance they do. We were
Back
sounding
in my
really
day, we said 7, 8, 9, and there was actual thought behind the joke.
we
Yeah, I'm
sound like
old, but
unks right now, just
yeah,
unction.
okay. But yeah, Julian Reed, fun player. He's the last guy to get on an Exhibit 10 and then get waived. He's one of the 4 affiliate players for the Raptors 905 with Tyson Degenhart, who was with Raptors in Summer League. Cody, you've written about him. Boise State all-time leading scorer, I believe Tyson is. So like you said, a lot of talent for this roster. I think Julian's going to be fun. Olivier Sarr, to your point, he was kind of interesting for the Raptors in Summer League to the point where some people were like, hey, can this guy be on the roster to add some center depth? He hit a game winner for the Raptors again in preseason against his younger brother Alex and the Washington Wizards. He's a fun add to the team, and with no older Shamshay, there is going to be a lot of pressure on him. We saw last year when Ulrich got hurt how much the lack of size and rim protection did hurt the Raptors 905. So maybe a guy like Olivier can approximate some of that, hopefully. So I think you're right. There's a lot of talent on this team. It's about putting it together and what they can do in terms of like keeping it consistent while things move. Because at the end of the day, just the reality of G League basketball is things on the roster will move. That is kind of the point of the G League. You want guys to get contracts and NBA opportunities. But overall, I think there will be a lot of fun talent. Kyle, is there anything that stuck out to you different than what we just said?
I was about to say you guys took all the words out of my mouth over here. But two players I'm mainly looking out for is Sarr, and I know Lawson's on the two-way. So around last year, he averaged around 19 points for the team. But I know he's got that NBA experience, so I want to see what he can bring to the team when he does play. If he's not already with the team with the big boys itself, and again with Shamshay being out, Sarr's kind of got to step up and take that role because Shamshay was killing it last year, and prayers out to him. Hopefully he gets back onto the team, he gets back healthy and everything like that. But yeah, overall, I just have my eyes on them to see what they can do, see what they can provide, and it's going to be a fun season just seeing how this team develops because it's a stacked team. I was surprised seeing Patrick McCaw in there. I had to do the double take. I was like, is that who I think it is? 3-time champion.
They traded for his returning rights.
Yeah, spent the last 4 years with the Delaware Bluecoats. Almost 7 points, over 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's I mean, Quincy Guerrier, Terry Key, Lacey James, all back from last year.
Mhm.
They got to make 3 cuts, and honestly, it's a pretty tough roster to make cuts from.
Mhm.
Like some of these guys are not going to be there. Like I would think McCaw would maybe be there, but if they want to give the nod to a younger guy, then
Yeah.
sorry. My guess on the cuts would be Lacey James, maybe the guard they drafted JP in the second round. They cut last year's second round pick. Charles Pride Jr., while Tyler Perry, their first round pick, stayed on the team. So maybe that's a little something you could look into for this year as well. But yeah, have we at least shouted out everybody? Oh yeah, Jaden Bedieko,
Hayden
Canadian.
Bediako, Brampton native,
Now,
local tryout player.
yeah, he is
Yeah.
now on in camp. Let's see if he can make the team. Was with the Rattlers in the CEBL over the summer. So maybe
Yeah.
Sophie, you could touch on that. But 8 points, 8.5 rebounds, two blocks. I think he set some sort of single game record for blocks or season long record for blocks, something like that. But yeah, he was we'll see if he makes a team out of camp because he could be interesting.
Yeah, big body, defensive presence, super active on that end. Just think of just like a bruising forward. That's Jaden Bediako. But yeah, like you guys said, lots of talent. Hopefully, it can stay consistent for the season. Last year, the Raptors 905 had pockets of success. They were atop the East for a while, but then when you had guys leave the roster, like Jameson Battle was put onto an NBA contract, Mobo spent a month there, but then he left, and then you had guys like Lawson and Roden leaving. It all kind of went downhill for there, unfortunately, for the
Lost
Raptors
17 of
905.
19.
Yeah, ended on a
17 of
5.
19 to finish.
Yeah, lost their last 5 in a row as well. But
Jeez.
hopefully that doesn't happen this season. But fellas, I think that's a lot of talk for one episode. I think that feels like a pod. So let's wrap it up here. And hopefully when we come back to talk, the Raptors will have won a lot more basketball. But until then, thank you to everyone for watching and listening to this episode of Run It Back, where we share our insights on Raptors and Raptors 905 basketball. We are absolutely thrilled to be back for another season and can't wait to be back for our next episode in a couple of weeks to talk more Dinos basketball. But as always, don't forget, let us know down below what you think of our new format and schedule. If you have any ideas of stuff you want us to talk about, share them down below. And as always, for your daily Raptors news, analysis, and opinions, check out RaptorsRepublic.com and subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. With that being said, for myself, Kyle, and Cody, we'll see you next time when we run it back. Peace.